What's up, Anchor listeners for the Common Sense Show TV? What's going on, man? Listen, real quick, I just want to ask you a question. Have any of you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to start this podcast, get it off the ground, I've been on Anchor for a couple of years now. I had a lot of questions about it. How do I record an episode? How do I get my podcast on Apple Music and Spotify and Google and all that good stuff? And how do I make money from it? So the answer to every one of those questions that I asked myself was simply this particular platform at anchor.fm. Now, Anchor, you can do everything here, one stop for recording, hosting, and distributing all of your podcasts because you don't have to really go through a middleman. It's all done right here on Anchor. Best of all, it's 100% free, you guys, and ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor is going to match you with great sponsors so you can get paid to podcast. So eventually, I'm going to get paid to do this. I tell you. Now, I use Anchor simply because I broadcast the Common Sense Show TV right here on Anchor, and I distribute that through Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Google, Castbox, Radio Public, right here on the internet. So if you guys want to start a podcast, make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start. To join me and other podcasters on Anchor and this diverse community of podcasters already using this particular platform. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. Good morning and welcome to the Common Sense Show TV episode 12. Today is January the 30th, 2019. The topic of today is going to be chapter 2 of the Knucklehead Chronicles, my book I'm supposed to be writing, but I'm going to do it verbally here on this podcast just to see who's listening. No, I'm kidding, but just to see what's going on out there. So episode 12, Knucklehead Chronicles, chapter 2 coming up. And welcome back to the Common Sense Show TV episode 12. Today, you guys, we're going to talk about, we're going to discuss chapter 2 or the next stage of the Knucklehead Chronicles. If you guys listen to the last podcast, we did chapter 1. This is a book that I'm writing. Eventually, at some point, I'm going to write, but I'm like, like I said in the first podcast, is that I'm more a verbalizer than I am a writer. So I can actually verbalize what I want, but I can't write it. I can, but I'm lazy. I'm keeping it real with you. But if you have listened to episode 1, this whole story, the Knucklehead Chronicles, and how that was formed was I really was it's kind of common sense because the name says itself, but I was really, really, really a knucklehead. Now, I did a lot of dumb stuff and we're going to get into it. But the first chapter, I talked about from birth to about 16 years old, when I first had my first traumatic life experience, when I found out that my father, or the man that raised me, wasn't my biological dad, and how that affected me. So this is going into the next form of my life, and we're going to talk about from this portion up until my first marriage. This is going to get good, y'all. Excuse me, hang tight. All right. So just picking up from the last podcast, is that once my mother told me, you guys, that Walter was not my father, life for me changed as a whole. It really got bad. So again, I'm in high school. I didn't know at that point. I didn't feel like that I belonged. I felt like everything that I went through in that life was a complete lie. All the cousins that I thought I had, not true. the grandmas, the grandma I thought I had, not true. Well, she didn't like me anyway, so that's neither here nor there. But still, everything was a lie. I figured that everybody was lying to me. I didn't trust anybody. So this is what happens. And just like any kid out here, we start to rebel, especially when we don't know what's going on. When we have found out that something has happened, that people have lied to us, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to rebel. It's just the easiest thing to do. Rather than to face it, we rebel against it. So that's exactly what I did. Now, mind you, I'm 16 years old. My first, I hadn't had any kind of sex yet, right? And so I was 16, and my girlfriend at the time, I'm not gonna call any names because she might listen to this podcast later, but she know who she is. My first girlfriend, my first sexual experience became my baby mama because, when you're young and you don't know anything about sex and you just kind of just doing something to make people mad, this is what happens, right? So 16 years old, I'm having sex, and next thing I know, I get a phone call saying that, hey, I'm late. And so, of course, the running joke has always been, late for what? Late for dinner? You late for the movies? What you late for? What are you talking about? And so, when she told me she was pregnant. And I'm 16, man. I don't know anything about birthing no babies at 16. Like, what? Okay. And so she is pregnant. I'm 16 years old. I'm a sophomore in high school. No, nothing about birthing no babies. None of that. I think I had a little job working the weekends, washing dishes at my grocery store. So they had a restaurant, so I washed dishes there. And so, we go through a whole torrid thing. Her mother and father were pissed off at me because she was a senior. She was going to graduate, and I'm a sophomore. So her daddy really didn't like me. And God rest his soul, he's passed away now, but he didn't like me in the beginning, but we became very respectful of each other later on. But in the beginning, he did not like me at all. Trust me, he didn't like me. But I got his baby pregnant. They have a granddaughter. And it was rough. And so she went downtown and got all of the child support stuff taken care of, and AFDC and government assistance and food stamps and all this other good stuff. And me, because child support laws have changed a lot since then. I mean, I'm 43, 26, 27 years ago. Or I'm bad with math, y'all. So 20 something years ago. So child support laws have changed. So now she gets any kind of assistance, AFDC, whatever, you're paying that back on top of your child support order. So I remember going to court at 17, after the baby was born. My oldest girl, Tanika, she might have been a year old, maybe. 6 months. We went to court, and it was like, you have to pay $173 a week or a month for this baby. $173 for a 16-year-old. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Back in 91, 90. That's a lot of money. So at that point, I was really upset with her at that point. I mean, it's just like any guy who's had a bad baby mama and it's took them downtown for child support. We hate them. I didn't want to deal with you. I hate you. Why you do that? Now I got to pay, $180 some a month of child support, at 16. I'm in high school, for God's sake. Let me tell you guys something. I barely made it through high school. But at the time when I was going through it, I really didn't, I wanted to blame her. I blamed her the whole time. But the fact is, we both did it, and I should have taken a look at it and made better decisions, or at least put on a condom. But because of my upbringing, because my mother and father were both ministers and they were strong in the church and all that, I never ever got the sex talk. So I never knew anything about condoms. I never knew anything about sexual prevention and what the penis do. But I didn't know that. When I made love with, I had sex for the first time. I didn't make love till I was grown, but when I had sex for the first time, I didn't know that stuff comes out at the other end. I didn't know that. I know it sounds crazy and naive, but seriously, I had no idea that stuff came out of the other side. And 9 months later, baby comes out. I had no idea because I never got that sex talk. So continuing on my journey, Nick was born and things are good. I actually asked my baby mother to marry me. She turned me down and was like, "No, I don't want to marry you. I wanted to make an honest woman out of her because she had my baby." All right. That's what I was told to do. My mother and father told me to do that. And it was like, you got to marry her. You got to do this. The mentality was way different back then, versus what it is now. And so I asked her to marry me. She says no. I'm like, okay. And so that hurt me as a man because I put it out there. I put everything out there only for you to turn me down and say, nah. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you something, guys, we are very volatile creatures, just like women are, but we different. You know what I'm saying? We different. And it hurt me. I cried for a week. I was a ball of nerves, man. I was done. And then, so come to find out, again, we're barely out of high school, and I go and visit her one day, and she is laid up with another dude. Now we supposed to be dating with a baby, right? But she's laid up with another dude, and currently this dude is not her husband, but whatever's clever. But she cheated on me with this dude. And when I tell you something, that crushed my spirit, and that further made me hate women. Not only did my mom lie to me, now my girlfriend, who I got a baby with, has cheated on me. So I'm really pissed off at women, right? So for many, many moons after that, every girlfriend that I had caught it, right? After her, I dated a girl named Alicia. Now, Alicia was nice. But Alicia had just came out of an abusive relationship with her ex, and he used to beat her senseless, right? And which I don't condone. I hated him for doing that. But because what happened with her is that it scorned her to the point where she wanted to be in a relationship with somebody, but she wanted me to treat her like he treated her. She wanted me to hit her and beat her like he did. Needless to say, I didn't stay in that long, but she did teach me a few things, physically, well, sexually. She taught me a lot of things, actually. But she wanted me to beat her, and she would poke fights with me during our courtship because she wanted me to be him. And I was like, no, I don't do that. That's not how I was raised, whatever. Like I said, I didn't stay in that long, right? So after that, I then meet my first wife. Well, yeah, there's a lot of nonsense in between, but, and a lot of that nonsense was just like a lot of quiet, a lot of one night stands, one hitter quitters, all that good stuff. But my next substantial thing was my first marriage. Now, just to recap real quick, mad at my mom because she lied to me. Mad at my baby mama because she cheated on me, and I'm on child support. And then I was confused by Alicia because I didn't know what the mindset of a woman was at that point in time. I was like, okay, I'm mad at them two, and then this one is she crazy? I don't know what's going on. I had no idea, so I was confused. But my overall sentiment of women is I didn't trust them, right? So I met my first wife. I'm not gonna call her name because again, she may catch the podcast one day. But my first wife, I was 19 years old at this point in the game. 19. Man, I knew what I was doing. I just barely had sex 3 years prior, and then I'm getting married at 19. How me and her hooked up was that my cousin knew her and told her about me. But what my cousin didn't tell me was that she got stood up at the altar a week after she introduced me to her. Right? I had no idea. So I meet her, and then the first thing she wants to do is, okay, then let's find wedding dresses. We talking about marriage, at 19. But because I was so defiant and I was so mad at my mom, I said, okay, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Go ahead and piss her off real quick. Yeah, let's go ahead and get married. And so we dated for like a week, maybe 2. And then we went right down to, I'm from North Carolina. So those of you guys don't know that. We went down to a little rinky dink, hole in the wall church club. I think they sold fish sandwiches at that store. I'm not really sure, but, we went down there. We had a minister. She was a ordained minister. She married us at 19 years old. We didn't get any suits or tuxedos or anything like that. I had on this purple cross color outfit. You guys may know that, maybe you don't. But if you hood and if you're from the South, you know what I'm talking about. Cross colors. It was this jean and vest outfit with a black shirt. I never forget it. She had on jeans and a flowered top or whatever. And she already had a son. D'Antonius, he already had a son, and we got married. Now, we didn't have a clue of what we were doing. So this further seasoned the hate that I had for women, because I didn't know what I was doing. She didn't know what she was doing, and we were just kind of flowing. So all of this just seasoned everything, just made it worse. So I go, excuse me. So I go, henceforth, I'm just tired. I'm confused. I don't know what's going on. I start cheating on her. And we talking about cheat. That's when my cheating session began. I started cheating. I started doing dumb stuff. I was working, wasn't paying any bills, mistreating her son, just being mean. Because I was so mad. I was mad at the world. I was mad at everybody. You know what I'm saying? Everybody felt my wrath because I was mad. Right? So I started just doing stupid stuff. And so because she felt some kind of way about what I was doing, she decided to fall in the fray. Right? And so she started cheating and all that good stuff. So it was just a terrible mess. And because of all of this, and right now, you guys, we're up to 19, 20 years old. And I went through a tremendous amount of pain, hurt, anger. So young men, if you're listening to me right now, I totally understand and I get it. But what we have to understand is we can't continue this path. We cannot continue this. Don't make the same mistakes that I did. Don't get married at 19 if you're not ready to get married. If you don't know what the hell marriage is, don't do it. Don't be having sex at a young age if you don't know what the hell sex is. Now, just because you watch a couple of videos and because you watch a couple of videos and you just think you know, you don't. Because what happens when you have sex with somebody, it's a chemical and soulful transference of spirits and emotion. And if you're not tight, if you're not even remotely interested in her other than her tail, then you really shouldn't be doing that, because we catch feelings. Men and women. Don't let no man tell you don't catch feelings, because they're lying. We do. Right? But we have to stop being knuckleheads. There's so many young people right now that are doing crazy stuff. And we're leaving babies unattended. We're leaving babies with their mamas. And we're jumping ship, not paying child support, things of this nature. Now, that $173 I was paying a month, I didn't pay for a few years. But we'll get to that in another episode. And every choice that you make in this life has a consequence. Don't think it don't. Don't think you finna get ready to lay down with this woman, have a baby, and she puts out a child support order and you don't pay. Don't you think for a minute that it's not gonna, the consequence of that will come back to you. I promise. And it's not a good consequence either. But I promise you, it's gonna come back. So, this is going to do it for this episode of the Common Sense Show TV. So you're going to have to listen. You're going to have to continue to listen to catch the rest of the story. Now, just to let you know where we are, if you don't remember, we are up to about age 20 right now, working on the first marriage. And life is going crazy, and it gets even crazier. But we'll get into that. All right. So you have to stay tuned. You have to catch the episodes. But don't be a knucklehead, you guys. This goes for women too. Don't be a knucklehead. Don't continue doing the same thing, because it's going to end you. It's going to end you up in a bad way and looking crazy. I promise. All right. So until next time, you guys be awesome. Listen to me. If you guys follow me on Facebook, you can follow my personal page at facebook.com/BullsFan40. If you follow the Common Sense Show TV page on Facebook, it is facebook.com/the Common Sense Show TV page. You have to put in the PAGE. If you don't, you will not get me. You'll get some dude named Dave, which he seems like a pretty cool guy, but still, it ain't me. All right. So you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday. Have a blessed rest of your week. And I will talk to you guys in the morning for episode 13, the Knucklehead Chronicles, chapter 3. You guys have a great evening. Peace.